Hi guys, so I am back to my more structured videos today. The one I will be doing today was actually requested by a subscriber of mine called David K, and he wanted to know how both social anxiety and depression affect my relationship with my boyfriend. And at first I thought I was going to structure this very well. I was going to write down all my ideas. I was going to really jot down all my points. And then I decided I'm an unstructured person. I'm a sporadic person. I feel like I do better when I do a rant or I just talk about whatever comes to mind first, because I feel like whatever comes to mind first is going to be the most pertinent thing to talk about. So if you guys have any issues with the way I'm doing my videos, if you wish I had a little more structure, please comment below, let me know if you have any suggestions for me. But I feel like this is working well for me, and this is the way that I actually am in real life. So might as well stick to being myself is how I see it. So to get right into it, I want to start off by saying that this might sound a little bit harsh, but I just see it as the reality of things. If you are dating somebody, or you would like to date somebody who is quote unquote normal and does not deal with any sort of mental illness, doesn't have a lot of it running in their family, do not really, get what it is, they will never understand what you're going through. And as I just said, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that you cannot ever expect them to know what it's like to be in your shoes, to know what it's like to have those days where you're so low that you don't want to get out of bed, that you're so anxious you want to leave the room, that you don't know how to interact with people. In this example, my own life, my boyfriend is the polar opposite of me. He's outgoing, he talks to people, he knows how to socialize. He doesn't have those days where he just doesn't want to get out of bed. He just keeps moving, he keeps going. Of course, he has low points, everybody does, but he doesn't get those points that he's low for no reason, like people with depression will get at times. So it's something where I think the best thing you can do when you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't understand these things is when you are at that low point, when you're close to having a panic attack, you're close to having a depressive episode, you stop, you look at the person you are with, and you say, this is what it feels like to me. And the same thing with, some of my friends, their parents, of course, have never been divorced. They don't know what that's like. And for a while, when I was growing up, I had a friend whose parents were divorced first, and she was actually crying at my own birthday party, and I was thinking what's the big deal with this? Why does it matter so much? But now that I know what it's like for parents to go through a divorce, it is so hard. You cannot explain it in words. It's something that you literally have to go through yourself to know. Same with depression, same with social anxiety, same with OCD behaviors, bipolarism, everything like that. Something that you'd have to experience for yourself. And of course, I do not wish this on anybody, but just to say that nobody will be able to understand it except for yourself. So that is why I've learned in my own relationship that you cannot depend on other people to pull you out of the situation. I think it's very important to, show your significant other what you're going through, acknowledge that this is what it's like to be depressed or to be whichever mental illness you're dealing with, but then don't say, like I used to do all the time, please help me. Because the only person that can help you is yourself. And that took a good year of therapy for me to realize that, and I still struggle with it. Sometimes when I'm really low, I want to be pulled out of that mess, but you have to remember that you've created that mess yourself. This is all in here. It's all mental. Nobody is doing anything to you. It's all how you interpret the situation, how you interpret your own feelings. Because when you're depressed, you can get so wound up in your own negative thoughts, in your own negative cycles, that it is so hard to pull yourself out. But if you yourself can't do it, how can anyone else do it for you? So my message is to never rely on the person that you're in a relationship with to help you. It's always you that has to find your own coping mechanisms. Like I said, I highly recommend therapy because it will teach you those coping mechanisms. And don't give up if you have a therapist that's not working well for you. I actually went through a couple to find the one that really worked well for me. And I have these coping mechanisms now where I don't feel like I need to go back to therapy. If I could afford that extra little bit and go just for maintenance, that's how I see it, I would do it. Because honestly, at the beginning, it's kind of like an overhaul. It's changing everything you know about yourself. And then, as you're learning coping mechanisms, you're learning how to better take care of yourself. It's a way of just maintaining that positivity and pulling yourself back from the negativity, learning the things you're going to change in your life, having a healthier lifestyle, eating properly, sleeping better, just things that will help put all the odds in your favor so that you can have a healthier, happier life. So you really have to learn that it's all about that. And I do believe that in relationships you will have resistance. Sometimes the person you're with will kind of go like, why can't you just be happy? Why can't you do that? You have to remember this is about yourself. And they can say that, but that's because they don't know. They're not being mean to you. They're not trying to hurt you. It's because they don't know what it feels like. And so sometimes I will speak to some of my friends that also deal with depression, anxiety, and that way we can relate to each other and I can vent about that with a person who truly does understand without having to bring that in and pollute my relationship. Of course, there are instances where it will get brought into a relationship when, I passed my drink threshold and I've lost my coping mechanisms, but I'm trying very hard to keep it a level ground so that I don't get to that point where it's coming into the relationship, polluting the relationship. However, at the same time, you can't blame yourself for those things because it's instilled in you. It's something that you have to deal with that is not going to just magically go away one day. I do believe that if you work hard enough on it, you're going to have good enough coping mechanisms that it gets easier and easier, and then you kind of forget sometimes that it's something that you're dealing with on a daily basis. So sometimes, from my own personal experience, it can be very hard being in a relationship, and I chose, honestly, the more difficult route, which is I worked on myself throughout my current relationship. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years. This whole thing with him has been going on for about 3 years now, and I just kept working myself. I think the easier thing would have been to say, you know what, I can't be with you, I can't be with anyone right now, I need to just focus on myself, do my own thing. But I did both. I worked on my relationship and I reinforced it as I was making myself stronger. So I just want to tell people that it's possible. It is a very, very difficult route. It will cause definitely more issues as you're trying to work on both at the same time rather than just keeping your focus on yourself. But it's something that I still do not regret. It's made me even stronger in some ways to be able to not only work on myself, but to have a loving and fulfilling relationship simultaneously. So you really have to assess what kind of person you are. I think so many people think that when they're in a really low point, they just can't be in a relationship. They're not allowed. They're not supposed to be. They're supposed to just be worried about themselves. But I'm here to tell you that you can do both, but you have to be prepared to really use your coping mechanisms well, try your hardest, and just keep working on yourself. Because another trap is, let's say you're with somebody that's very sensitive and it's like, oh baby, I'll help you no matter what, I'll help you through everything, no matter what, we'll get through this. That's not always healthy either, because you have to learn to stand up by yourself, use your own coping mechanisms, because what happens if A, that relationship doesn't work out, or B, you just lose sight of your own goals and your own things you're trying to accomplish. Then if you're left and you're alone, what are you going to do? So you have to always remember to put yourself first, put your own needs first in a relationship, and to continually work on yourself no matter what. So those are my main messages when it comes to how this is affecting my relationship. So in a broader sense, in terms of social anxiety, I think it's actually a very good thing to be in a relationship, especially with someone who's more extroverted, because it helps pull me out of my shell, helps me socialize and do things I normally wouldn't when I'm really withdrawn and in that antisocial state of mind. However, with depression, it's a little harder because I feel like it's a little bit harder for people to understand depression and those times when you're just knocked out, just completely sad. So that is more difficult, and I think that's when you really need to go within yourself and learn your coping mechanisms and take some time, do some journaling, sort out your own thoughts. Sometimes you don't even know why you're feeling the way you are, so it's good to just write it down, realize why that's happening, do meditation, do exercise. Exercise is an amazing antidepressant. Things that you can do for yourself. And of course, you could always incorporate in your partner. You could go for a bike ride together, which I do with my boyfriend. You can do healthy activities, cook a healthy meal together so that you'll both be boosting your moods in that way. So there's ways where you can work together on your illness. However, you really have to be the one that does the first step, which is the hardest thing to do when you do suffer with depression. But trust me, the more you do it, the more you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, the happier you will be. So these are my main messages about how it's working in my own relationship without getting way too personal. But if you guys have any more questions, if you want me to address any specific topics, please feel free to comment below, and I will definitely do that for you guys. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and I will keep updating you on my journey. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.